In this new segment of my show, I will be telling you, the viewer, fairy tales from around the globe and explaining exactly how they drop the ball in terms of story structure, characters, and basically just mocking their overall weirdness because I am a horrible person. Seriously, in all honesty, there are so many awesome and incredibly strange fairy tales out there that are not really that well known, mostly because they don't have their own Disney animation. In fact, even some of the alternate versions of Disney classics are real head scratchers. I mean, wish-granting trees and eye-gouging birds, really? Luckily, the tale I'm telling today, which hails from Scotland, is equal parts awesome and strange, so please sit back and relax as I recount the tale of the Black Bull of Norroway. Not to be confused with the Black Bull of Norway, who is actually a very good friend of mine. Oh, and before I move on, I should probably mention that while there are probably a million different versions of the story currently in existence, I'm using the version from the book Celtic Tales, Fairy Tales, and Stories of Enchantment from Ireland, Scotland, Brittany, and Wales. So all you people in the comment section saying, no, this version says this version says this, no, I'm using this version and this version only, so don't you get all your panties in this bunch, okay? Long ago, there lived a widow who had 4 daughters. I'm not going to bother recounting her name, because like most mothers in fairy tales, she really isn't that important, and you'd just be happy that she isn't dead. But because she was a widow and therefore poor, she had a hard time finding enough for her family to eat. Determined to settle and find her fortune, the oldest daughter decided to go and visit an old hen's wife, who it was rumored was really a witch with the ability to see into the future. Because nothing says planning for your future like witches and fortune-telling. But when she visited the old woman and asked which direction she should go to find her fortune, the old woman replied, "You need go no further than my back door." So the daughter looked at the woman's back door, where she saw a coach drawn by 6 beautiful horses coming up the road. And when she told the old woman what she had seen, she told her that the coach had come for her. And sure enough, the coach stopped at the widow's door, and the girl's sister hurried to tell her that the coachman had asked for her. So she hurried home, said goodbye to her mother and sisters, and took her seat in the carriage. Because this was a simpler time, before abductions and human trafficking. Oh wait, no it wasn't. So how, even in the land of fairy tale logic, does allowing your daughter to go off with some random guy in a carriage pass for a good idea? Unless the old hen's wife and the poor widow planned this, in which case I guess that's one way to lighten your load and free up some finances. But anyway, let's get back to the story. So, copy and paste that part of the story until we get to the last daughter, who just like the others decides to go to the old hen's wife so she too can get an incredibly suspicious carriage ride to who knows where. But unlike the other daughters, and because she was the last and therefore most important, this girl was actually gifted with a name. Ines, just like her sisters before her, went to the hen's wife to seek her fortune. But no horse-drawn carriage came to meet her on that day, so the old woman told her to come back the next day. And the next day, until finally on the 3rd day, she looked out the window and saw a giant black bull. While the young girl was understandably resistant to the idea of going away with a random bull that she didn't know, the old woman said that the girl's fortune had come to meet her, and therefore she must follow it. So, is anybody else being to doubt the abilities of the so-called fortune-teller? I mean, she was on point with the first 3 fortunes if you ignore the possibility that she may have orchestrated them and is really some kind of slave trader. But with this one, it took her 3 tries. What if a bull just happened to appear, and she was just like, oh look, a bull! That's your fortune! Now get on its back and... Excuse me, what? No, it's simple, you just get on its back and... Now get going. I mean, I've already read the rest of the story, so I know that's not true, but if I were in this girl's shoes, I would have some serious questions for this old lady. So eventually, Ines, persuaded by the fortune-teller's very sound reasoning, climbs onto the bull's back, and off the 2 ride, until Ines finds that she is so hungry and tired from holding on that she fears she might fall from the bull's back. Before she can let go, however, the bull speaks up and tells her to eat out of his right ear and drink out of his left. So she puts her hand into his right ear and pulls out some meat and bread, but in his left ear she finds a flagon of wine, which helps to invigorate her strength, as most full ear wine is prone to do. This part of the story raises so many questions that I don't think I can get through them all. First off, if the bull could talk, why didn't he do it at the beginning? I suppose that maybe he didn't want to scare the girl off, but if going into a carriage with a random stranger at the behest of a fortune-teller passes for okay in Scottish fairy tale land, then talking about bulls should really be no big deal. And vegetarian or not, I would have some serious problems eating something that came out of a bull's ear. I mean, I know the food is probably produced by way of the same magic spell that turned this guy into a bull. Like you didn't see that one coming. But it seems like a really random thing to include when cursing a person. I mean, when the Shadow Man turns Prince Naveen into a frog, he doesn't say, oh, by the way, if somebody turns you mouth side down and squeezes you, lollipops will come out. because nobody is going to want to eat anything that came out of a frog's mouth. And also, it just makes no sense. So Ines and the bull ride on until they reach a magnificent castle that the bull tells her belongs to one of his brothers. While the bull retires to the courtyard, Ines is taken to the castle where she meets the lord and his lady, who to her surprise turns out to be her older sister. So I guess she wasn't sold into slavery after all. She was just given in marriage to a rich guy that she never met. On second thought, are we sure the old witch lady didn't benefit in any way from this arrangement? Anyway, so Ines has a great time reconnecting with her sister, and at the end of her stay, she gives her an apple and tells her that she should break it open only when she's in great need. Because what do you get for the person who has nothing? Seriously, you have a castle, you could have given her a few more supplies. We again enter cut and paste territory as Ines and the bull visit 2 more castles, where Ines reconvenes with her other 2 sisters and receives yet more emergency fruit, in the form of a plum and a pear. Eventually, the pair reach a glen, where the bull lets Ines off his back and tells her that she must stay seated on a stone and wait for him, unmoving, while he goes off to fight a creature he refers to as the Old One. He also tells her that if she moves even 1 iota from the spot, she will activate a curse that will make it impossible for him to find her, or vice versa after they are separated. Then why the hell doesn't he put her someplace else? If he's successful, then everything around her will turn blue. But if her surroundings turn red, then he's lost, and she should probably get the heck out of Dodge before the Old One decides to eat her. Well, actually I add that last part, but if a creature big and strong enough to defeat a gigantic black bull is living in that glen, you would bet that I wouldn't want to stick around to make its acquaintance. After waiting on the rock for what seemed like an eternity, her surroundings finally turn blue, and the overly excited Ines leaps up from the rock without thinking and of course activates the aforementioned curse. As if it wasn't blatantly obvious from the beginning that that was going to happen. Ines waits for the bull until almost nightfall, but he never appears. So our exhausted and emotionally defeated heroine succumbs to sadness and cries herself to sleep. When she wakes up, Ines decides that the best course of action would be to make her way back to one of her sister's castles. But as she was unsure which way to go, she wandered around until she happened upon a gigantic hill made completely of glass. If you either live in or have ever been to Scotland and are wondering why you have never happened upon glass hills, I'm pretty sure that the insurgence of Christians in Scotland has something to do with their disappearance, as everyone knows that Christians have always cornered the market when it comes to fancy glass, and damned if they would allow Mother Nature to outdo them on that front. Anyway, Ines finds a small cabin at the foot of the hill and decides to ask its resident, an old blacksmith, about her location. The blacksmith tells her that she is at the Mountain of Glass, on the other side of which lies the land of Norroway, and because Ines wants to reunite with her bull friend, who she's apparently grown very close with over the past 3 days, she asks him how she can get around the Mountain of Glass. Unfortunately, the blacksmith informs her that there's no easy way around the mountain, as the path around was long and perilous, while to climb over the mountain she would require a special pair of iron shoes, that the blacksmith could make for her if she agreed to work for him for 7 years. Yeah, apparently according to this guy, money or not, these shoes could only be acquired through servitude. Seriously, between the strange fortune-telling henwife, mysterious carriage rides, and blacksmith demanding servitude for shoes, this story has some serious stranger danger overtones. Personally, I would take my chances walking around the mountain, but because this is a fairy tale and therefore defies logic, Ines does her 7 years hard labor and climbs over the Mountain of Glass. After entering the land of Norroway, Ines decides to start knocking on doors and inquiring about the location of the Black Bull. Because what else would you do in a land without Facebook? And also those paper blocks with little numbers, you know what I mean. Ines's search leads her to the home of an old washerwoman, who informs her that the Black Bull of Norroway and the Prince of Norroway are in fact the same person. Again, not that surprising considering he had 3 rich human brothers. Unfortunately, the Black Bull turned prince had only vague memories of Ines, and over the years had given up hope on once again finding the mysterious girl that he knew was a bull. But fortunately for Ines, the old washerwoman already had a rendezvous with the prince set up, as she was in charge of cleaning his mantle, which for the record does not refer to a shelf above a fireplace, but is instead a kind of sleeveless cape. But because this is fairy tale land, it goes without saying that this was no ordinary cape, but a magic garment that it was said could only be washed by the prince's true love. And because neither the washerwoman or her daughter qualified, no matter how hard they tried, they just couldn't wash it clean. So the washerwoman, wily as she was, made a deal with Ines, stating that if she washed the mantle, she would allow her a one-night stay at her home. So the story went from having a female lead, learning a trade in climbing a mountain of glass, to doing a guy's laundry. And I thought searching for a wife by checking a woman's shoe size was a little bit on the sexist side. Well, I'm sure you all saw this twist coming, but lo and behold, Ines succeeds in washing the unwashable mantle. But since the old woman wanted her daughter to get the credit for washing the prince's mantle, and because Ness didn't know the garment's origins, she decided to heed the old woman's advice and go to sleep early. But when the prince came and saw that his mantle had finally been washed, he proposed to the daughter on the spot and stated that they would be married as soon as the next day. When Ness woke up and heard the news, she was heartbroken, but it was at this point that she finally remembered the emergency fruit that her sister had given her 7 years earlier. And since she was clearly up a creek without a paddle, she broke open the apple and inside was a huge bundle of jewels, which she offered to the washerwoman, provided that she agreed to postpone her daughter's wedding for 1 day, in addition to allowing her to sit by the prince while he slept. Because that doesn't come across as creepy at all. Surprisingly, the washerwoman agreed to this, because she wanted the jewels, but to ensure that nothing happened while they were alone together, she decided to give the prince a sleeping draught. So during the night, Ines sat by the prince's bedside and sang a song, hoping that the prince would wake up and hear her. 7 long years I served for thee, the glassy hill I climbed for thee, the mantle white I washed for thee, and wilt thou not waken and turn to me? But all her singing was for naught, as the washerwoman had thoroughly drugged up the prince. So Ines cracked open the pear and copy and paste until we get to the last piece of fruit. But before we talk about the ending of this tale, I have to address the emergency fruit. Sure, they're magic, but still so many questions. Why can they only produce jewels? Why give Ness 3 pieces of fruit instead of just giving her a watermelon? In fact, why give her emergency fruit in the first place if they could have just given her jewels and told her that she was going to need them at some point and to save them and spend them wisely? And most importantly, did the fortune teller from the beginning know that this was going to happen? I mean, she's the only person in the story who can see into the future, so she must have told the sisters to give Ness the fruit. So why couldn't she tell her about the bull's curse, or remind her not to move when she was in the glen, or warn her about the old washerwoman? Seriously, I'm beginning to think that the old fortune teller is the real villain of the story, and that she's sitting at home watching us suffer through a crystal ball. Like, that's how she gets her kicks. So, anyway, while the first 2 nights of singing accomplished absolutely nothing, seriously, the washerwoman should forget about having her daughter married to royalty and just sell the sleeping draught. She could make a fortune. I mean, internet or not, I'm pretty sure that narcolepsy and insomnia still exist in this world. But it turns out that some of the men in the prince's retinue had heard Nessa's singing and asked the prince about the song's origins. Being that the prince had absolutely no idea what they were talking about, they suggested that he not partake of the washerwoman's draft and try to stay up to discover the identity of the mystery singer. So that night, when the old woman came to give the prince his drink, he asked her to fetch him some honey, and when she was out, he dumped the drink out the window. And of course, after everybody went to bed, Ines snuck into the prince's room and began to sing her song. The prince woke up, Ines told him who she really was, and that it was really her who washed the mantle, and basic fairy tale ending. The 2 were married, they lived happily ever after, and the old washerwoman and her daughter were banished from the country for deceit. So not so happy for them. So that was the Black Bull of Norroway. A basic, typical fairy tale, but on drugs. Possibly acid. If you're not happy with my comedic spin on the story, then pick up the book and read it yourself, or look it up online. This is Silver Jade reminding you to support your local library. And I'll see you next time.